about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I think it was last year when I was in a poker tournament. I was, teaching you guys about, gambling and the, how it's all kind of schemed against you. And I had said, the only way to really win at gambling is to not play. And one of you had thought that was a fantastic statement, but that's not my own. I've just, that just common to me. It's common sense, but I think the actual statement was made, decades ago. You've heard it in movies, war games, for example. The only way to win is not to play the game. But it's something that keeps. So thank you for giving me credit, but I don't deserve the credit for that. That's a saying that's been out there. But thank you. I'm glad you're listening. That's awesome. But it's something that I think these are kind of words to live by. I'll see people get involved in love triangles. Some of my single friends. They really like somebody, but they think the other person likes somebody else, and he's here, but you're not going to win. Now, I know there's that competition thinking, okay, I'm going to get that person to like me more than everybody else. The only way to win is not to play. You are not going to be on higher ground and more proud of yourself than saying, I'm not messing with this. You go be a player. I'm going to find somebody who's, a one-man woman, so to speak. Same thing with some of the BS you'll see at work where, people are vying for, jobs or favor or being, teacher's pet or, and sometimes the most strategic way is just take a step back and let them just all fumble and mess themselves up. And then you just be able to, go your course. You'll see that like in a Slow and Steady Wins the Race or the tortoise and the hare, which by the way, there on I don't know if it was YouTube or TikTok, but there was a video. I think this was in China where you had somebody race a tortoise and a hare, and the hare starts sprinting, then stops, looks all distracted. And the tortoise just kept its course and just did its thing. So, we're looking at this illegal gambling ring, and that, involved mafia and NBA allegedly and all that. And, I live in a state where, gambling is, it's a big part of our industry. We have other industries now because we got sports and we got great restaurants and tourism. But, people always ask me, how much do I gamble? Do I play a lot? I don't like to play. I really don't. I mean, if I'm out with friends and they're like, I want to play some blackjack, I might play a little bit. But I don't like blackjack. I don't like Keno. I don't like bingo. I don't like roulette. I really don't even like poker. Now, if there's a charity event and you're playing poker and the money's going to charity, yeah, I'll do it. Because it's fun. And, you kind of hang out with people and you're doing it for charity. But do I really, really want to, lose my day to go and lose money? If you want to win and you want to be a winner, you're a winner if you don't play. And I understand it's such a high and it's such a dopamine rush to win money that you didn't have to work hard for. But my father was a gambler, and I saw what it did to him. It destroyed him. And for what? We were poor for most of my childhood because he liked gambling, and he was addicted to that. Now, many of you who have never gambled have started to take it on because of sports betting. And we've talked about this. Sports betting has now changed the game because for those of us that love watching sports and, really got that scratch itch or that itch scratch when we started to play fantasy football, and you're like, wait a second, I'm good at this. I might as well make some money. And then you download the app and you could very easily get hooked. Just always remember to tell yourself, if you want to win, the best way to win is to not play. And I don't want to steer people away from, the casino and steer people away from, doing side bets and, following your crush. But you need to stop and take a look and go, is this a game? And what are my odds? And we always think, well, I am the one that's going to win the lottery. I am the one that's going to win the jackpot. I am the one that person is going to fall in love with and say no to all the other women. No, it never happens that way. I mean, it may for somebody should say never, but it usually doesn't. And, in my life, I've lost enough. I don't feel like losing. I'm at the age now where I want to always have a win. Now, I don't have the time or the patience or the money to take a loss. Now, I've never been a big risk taker. My friends who did take risks, yeah, they're probably doing financially better than I, but I've had some friends that have done financially worse. I don't trust my risk-taking abilities. I just don't. I'm not really good at that. I might play around a little bit, and I might be lucky on some games or on some stocks. But me, I'd rather have no regrets. So, I never lived by the only way to win is not to play. I've never lived by that mantra. I've lived by, with whatever I'm about to do, am I going to have regrets? Am I going to say, oh, I should have never dated him? I should have never taken that job. I should have never, and that's what kept me from making some, bad decisions and helped me make good decisions. I was single a lot because I wouldn't sleep with people because I'm like, I'm going to regret this. So I wouldn't. So I ended up being single for a long period of time. But I got to tell you, at least I have very few regrets. Don't get me started on Dirk. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So I have to credit the Democrats because they're actually starting to be more transparent and honest about it. And so while we're kind of looking at this whole shutdown thing, with, okay, come on, the Democrats are stalling, it's a CR they approved before, just sign the continuing resolution, reopen the government. You're just using this as an opportunity to hold things up. You find a rare time of leverage in a, Republican-controlled House, Senate, very slimly controlled. So you have some room for leverage. Come on, we all know what you're doing. And then Chuck Schumer got caught, saying, every day, telling other Democrats every day, the government shut down, it's better for us. And that was a really bad look. And that sound bite is going to probably follow him the rest of his career, which is probably now very short-limited. But now we have another Democratic leader. This is, I believe, the minority whip. Hold on a second. I want to give credit where due. Yeah, House Minority Whip Catherine Clark. She actually admitted to Fox News when she was asked about Americans on who they would probably blame for the shutdown. And she said, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. She says, we take that responsibility very seriously, but it is one of the few leveraged times we have. So she's admitting that they are going to let Americans suffer for leverage. And she didn't seem to hide it. So the Democratic messaging is, this is a fight that requires sacrifice, that requires people suffering. And does it? It's a continuing resolution. It's only a very slim majority that the Republicans have in the House and the Senate. You can bring up bills. A lot of things are, trust me, if you're going to be bringing up the flaws of Obamacare and the needs to revamp it, you're going to get bipartisan support because Obamacare was a cluster at a 7. And many Republicans would love to revamp it. But if it's, no, because we need to fight the big, beautiful bill. And there's some savviness you could do. I've been asked to run for office, and I don't want to because I can't stand politicians and I can't stand the politics of it all. The American people don't want politics. Okay, the reason why Trump won was because he wasn't a politician. He's like, look, I'm going to get stuff done. Some stuff you might like what I'm doing, some stuff you might not, but overall, it's going to help. We're going to secure the border. We're going to make sure, the dollars that Medicaid and Medicare go to for our citizens and for our legal immigrants and all that it's not going to run out. We're going to make sure we get money coming in. We're going to, ensure that beautiful cities like Chicago and Portland and Washington, D.C. is not going to be crime ridden, that we're going to protect our citizens. And unlike most politicians where, we have to wait for this. And yeah, the idea is there and false promises. Trump is getting stuff done. And so I really worry about the Democrats because for me, I'm American. So I want Republicans and Democrats to succeed in helping the American people and doing what they're supposed to. I want the democracy to succeed. And I don't want to see a party where, even my Democratic and Republican friends are like, they're in trouble. I don't want to see that because I just don't want to see single party rule. And the Democrats are going to have to rethink their messaging. I know they think they have leverage now. And they do have some, but to say you want to now extend funding and deal with Obamacare, the ACA, and when it's a continuing resolution thing, you're going to set a precedence where and the Americans, people are not going to want this, where every time the government is about to shut down for funding, it gets stopped because you have senators going, well, I want this, and I want this, and I want more windmills, and we have to talk about climate change, and we have to talk about the border, and we know the reason why the continuing resolution is separate is so it doesn't get stalled, and so the government can run efficiently. You could bring up all the other topics as it pertains to Medicaid and Obamacare and rural hospitals and farmers, in Congress when during the legislative sessions, and the sessions, I believe, are going to be once, I guess, the House is done with recess. You could bring any of that up. That's what is so beautiful about our country. But if you're going to hold the continuing resolution and Americans hostage, that's a problem. So what the Republicans are doing now is saying, look, okay, we got to pay our essential workers. We got TSA agents who are not getting paychecks. We got food pantries who are saying we're in trouble here, right? You have the military not getting paid. So they're going to ask Democrats to at least temporarily, while they're still stalling on the CR, fund. So these federal workers get some relief, because the food pantries are like, guys, why are food pantries taking resources that are supposed to be for homeless people? Why are they now stressed with the duty and responsibility of feeding our federal workers? It's a simple 24-page bill that Democrats have signed before. Are you kidding me? Now, so the Democrats don't look bad. Their counter is, okay, we'll sign one paycheck, but then we got to go back to what we're doing because of the leverage. They're not going to win. And I don't want them to look worse than they already are. We have a lot of good ideas coming from Republicans and Democrats which make our country great again. As much as the ACA was one of the stupidest bills I ever saw, two tiny pieces that were fantastic. It was insurance companies not being able to reject claims on pre-existing conditions, and they now have to cover a physical. Okay, that was good. And that came from, a bipartisan agreement. We do better when we agree on things. Look, I want to make sure our environment is safe. Do we need to mandate electric vehicles? No. But I think when we work together on things, we could come up with, very common sense. We don't want to ruin our environment, but we also don't want to come up with things that aren't necessarily science-based, that just help some companies and push fundings to them. We don't want pork. We don't want fraud. We don't want waste. We don't want abuse of the system. And bipartisanly, you've heard Democrats and Republicans agree on so many things. So now there's a 24-page bill Democrats have approved multiple times before, should be a slam dunk, and you have Democrats admitting this helps us. Well, it's not helping the food banks. It's not helping the federal workers. It's also not helping all the charities that now have to step up and help federal workers because the Democrats don't want to sign the CR. Not cool. Not to mention what's going to happen now with the delays and the travel. And they think, I guess what the Democrats are hoping for is Republicans will be like, all right, we will negotiate Obamacare. No. Once they do that, then it's not a CR. You can't. What made this process as drama-free as possible is it's something that has been approved time and time again by both Republicans and Democrats. It's simple, it's clean, so that they could get the government open again. But if Democrats are going to admit to, look, we're going to be using this as an opportunity for leverage, then every single time this happens, and it always happens every year where the government is going to be shut down, we got to change. This is not cool. And this is not democratic. This is extortion. And it's not, people say, well, Trump has to get involved. I don't know what he can do. It's a simple CR that's not supposed to be. I mean, the president is supposed to take a step back, let Congress just pass a bipartisan CR, which was bipartisan. It's not supposed to start having all this extra stuff. We don't want big, beautiful bill in the CR. We don't want Obamacare in the CR. Now that's going to confuse the hell out of it. And now we are going to be predictably in shutdowns year after year after year. The more you put into the CR, the worse it becomes. And it has to be relevant to what needs to be funded. So I think this is really starting to hurt the Democrats, and more importantly, it's hurting Americans, and not only federal workers, but those who need food from food pantries and government assistance. This is not cool. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So all eyes are on the New York City mayor election that's coming up. And Andrew Cuomo did well in the debate, and he is starting to squeeze the lead, shrink the lead between him and Mamdani, but Mamdani is still leading resoundingly. When you look at Patriot Polling, Gotham Polling, Beacon Research, Quinnipiac, Suffolk University, when you look at these polls, Mamdani is still winning. And over the weekend, last weekend, Zohran Mamdani posted a photo of him looking really cuddly and giggling with Imam Siraj Wahaj. This is according to multiple news outlets, who was a co-conspirator but unindicted of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that killed 6 New Yorkers, and who has allegedly urged jihad in New York City. 2011, Wahaj urged donations for the legal defense of Lady Al-Qaeda, a Pakistani neuroscientist who tried to kill U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Mamdani praised Wahaj as one of the nation's foremost Muslim leaders and a pillar of the Bed-Stuy community. Now, this is concerning. But why is Mamdani winning? Well, is it that people forget the World Trade Center bombing? Or they forget Now, he wants to raise taxes by $9 billion to make buses free. He wants to price control rent, grocery stores, convert private properties into communes, defund the police. He's tweeted multiple times, fight ICE, abolish prisons, eliminate cash bail. These are things that are concerning. But you look at the polls, you're like, what the heck is going on here? Now, we know that polls aren't always, completely accurate. I mean, Kamala Harris was allegedly leading Trump resoundingly, and you saw what happened, Hillary Clinton as well in these polls. But their lead was not as big as Mamdani has. And so, Andrew Cuomo, we're being told, did a really good job at the last debate. And, it's interesting. I got to watch it on online. I wasn't able to watch it live. And, he really threw some good hits at Mamdani. We're told Mamdani was figuratively sweating, maybe even literally sweating. Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa did well, but people have been asking Curtis Sliwa to step down. He's not going to. No matter if you ask him, if you plead with him, he's not going to. And the reason why is he's not going to want to help Andrew Cuomo. I mean, this is, if he drops out, when you look at the Patriot polling poll, Mamdani has 43% of the votes, Andrew Cuomo 32%. Okay, so that's 11-point difference. Curtis Sliwa 19%. If that 19% goes to Andrew Cuomo has a chance of beating Mamdani. But I don't think Curtis Sliwa is going to do it. He has not won yet. I like the guy. I know him, but he's not going to. And he also doesn't think that he's even on some of his interviews equated Andrew Cuomo to Mamdani. And Andrew Cuomo, has been, criticized for a lot of things he did during COVID, was not, the governor of choice for many New Yorkers. And so Mamdani is winning because his primary opponent is Cuomo. Now, Cuomo is trying to, appear that he has turned a new leaf. He's not Democrat. He's independent. He's trying to appeal to Republican voters. And Curtis Sliwa getting 19% is, pretty remarkable, especially since, many New Yorkers vote Democrat, but New York City is very, very blue. It's just, if he's not going to win, will he do more for New York stepping down? And what I think might be going on in his head is Andrew Cuomo will lose anyway. So why should he give up? He's the only Republican candidate. They're not going to ask him. Whereas with, previous, with primaries, if you are not bringing in enough, shall we say, donations or have enough support, you can't continue. However, once you win the Republican primary, you're there, you're good. So nobody's going to ask him to leave except people who don't want Mamdani to win. And, there's a lot of anxiety over this. I mean, he is no fan of Israel, no fan of the broad Jewish community. In fact, you have a lot of, the Jewish community kind of speaking out, going, look, this is not good. But it's not enough. I mean, you have, New York is vast. And so Mamdani won from his Democratic challenger Cuomo by a landslide in the primary. And so to think that Andrew Cuomo could make headway without Curtis Sliwa dropping out is slim. Now, some people say, you know what, let him just win and fail. New Yorkers will learn their lesson. I don't know. And then other people say, well, Sliwa has to drop out, so people will be forced to vote for Cuomo. If somebody doesn't want Cuomo, they're not going to vote for him. Now, I understand there's a split of the votes. But if somebody doesn't like Mamdani and they don't like Andrew Cuomo, they're just not going to vote. Also, do you actually see Republicans, turn around and say, I'm going to vote for Andrew Cuomo? I mean, they have to. What never is successful in elections is you hating a candidate so much. What makes an election successful is you liking a candidate. But the hate of a candidate is usually not enough to put them over the edge. And it would really take the Republicans supporting Sliwa. This isn't on Sliwa. It's the Republicans voting for him. That 19% has to say, look, do I really want Mamdani to win or do I want to vote for Curtis Sliwa? You have some people where politics is their religion. And they could not live with themselves if they did not make an R vote or a D vote. And we keep saying politics is people's religion. Well, I really mean that. Because when you look at what's going on, I am sure that that percentage of the population that is voting for Curtis Sliwa does not want a self-proclaimed democratic socialist or alleged Marxist, communist, anti-Semite, to win. So it should be a slam dunk. They shouldn't put that. They should then vote to keep him out. Are they misguided? Do they think really if all the Republicans, join forces, they'll be able to vote for Curtis Sliwa? We'll see what the polls look like after the last debate, but I don't think Curtis Sliwa has a path. I'd like him to. I think he'd make a great mayor. But if it's Mamdani that wins, and once Mamdani gets in, the people think, well, let him fail. Now, if he fails, then he's not going to get reelected. Nobody's ever going to vote in a Democratic Socialist or a Communist again. Not exactly. Biden failed miserably, but nobody admitted to that. So, 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out. All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So again, the debate is coming back on if we are over-medicating individuals and over-medicating sadness. When you have a family member who is sad, and we go to antidepressants, which should not be the first line thing. We should evaluate them, get therapy involved, take a look at their diet, lifestyle choices, see if there's something that could be contributing to their depression, like marijuana use, alcohol use. But sometimes we do need to use medication. There seems to be this sentiment that we have taken something that we used to not medicate, and now we over-medicate for. And so the first thing I want to clarify is if I ever started somebody on an antidepressant, I was never medicating their sadness. It's natural to be sad, natural to be depressed at times, natural to be anxious. I only chose medication when I was worried about their functioning. It's all about if they're functioning. I mean, you have a death in the family. You're going to be sad. I mean, I lost my Shaky Boo. My Shaky Boo, almost 19 years old. My kids don't have childhood memories without him. Barely remember maybe when we got him and adopted him. Shaky Boo was a part of our family. So when he left us, when Spider left us, when Apollo, wow, we were sad. We cried. We were in a funk. When my baby Snow got eaten by a coyote, these are bad things that happen. When you lose a family member, lost my dad, you learn to deal with it. You cope, you grieve. But if you're able to function, still go to work, still do things, and you feel like you can manage the grief and you can, still be able to eat, dress, go to work, still understand the big picture of life. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go on a medication. So if somebody's going to start a medication for depression or anxiety or ADHD, it's a functioning issue. Now, I know many people have asked, do I have ADHD? I don't have attention deficit, but I'm hyper. I am hyper. Have I ever been offered medication for my hyperactivity? No. And don't medicate me. My being hyper and having this battery, this lithium battery that hopefully will never explode, that keeps me going and makes me a workaholic, this is why I am who I am today. If, however, it affected my family, if my choices affected my health, if I wasn't functioning well, then yes, we need to talk about therapy. We need to talk about interventions. But if I am functioning at a good level because of this, it's interesting. There's a lot of doctors with OCD. You saw my studio. I definitely do not have obsessive compulsive disorder. I need a little bit more. But you have a lot of physicians out there who suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder. And, some of their employees struggle with that. Well, if that doctor is being obsessive about making sure things are clean, the equipment is sterile, that HIPAA rules are followed, that tests and things ordered have been followed up correctly, that's just the name of that's not being obsessive. That's actually performing at a baseline in medicine. You cannot order a test and not follow up on that. You have to be 100%, 0.0000000, nothing less. You can't order a test and never look at it, never follow up with the patient. You just can't do that. Somebody has an abnormal mammogram. You have got to get that report, get them into care, follow up with them every single time. You just can't miss that. You're about to do a surgical procedure. You have got to be sterile. Your gloves, your equipment, that's non-negotiable. So some people may say, I can't ever work for a doctor because they're OCD. It's not that they're OCD, that's the name of the game. Now, if you have employees that are like, look, I've worked for other people, man, okay, we autoclaved it once. The packaging is showing purple, it's autoclaved, and you're making us autoclave it 3-4 times. Can we get a new autoclave that you trust that we only have to use once? So there can be, and it's very easy to feed and brew OCD if, somebody's been sued or somebody doesn't trust something. I had to double check my nurse's work oftentimes because I had a nurse tell me the pregnancy test was negative, and I go out, I made sure, thank God, that they left all the tests and I would throw them out, and there it was, weekly positive. My patient was positive, and we were going to send her for a CAT scan. But we did a pregnancy test to make sure she wasn't pregnant first. Come on, man. And so, I understand that, in medicine, you can be a lot more judicious and you might be more, I don't want to use the word obsessive compulsive, but the need to be accurate and efficient. I get that because you're closed down if you mess up. Whereas politicians can lie and do whatever the hell they want. I'm blown away at what they are able to do, without any accuracy or any accountability. So it's a functioning issue. And are there ways to treat sadness without medication? Absolutely. But there are individuals who might not have the chemical makeup to be able to bounce back. I mean, for me, anytime I've had horrible things happen to me, I went to prayer. And God infused the light. God infused what I needed, the dopamine, whatever I needed to be able to bounce back and do what I need to do. And, there were some times when I was in a rut for a while, but he made it happen. So for me, I could go to prayer. But for some people, they might not have that faith. And for some individuals, they might actually need help as it pertains to their serotonin or their norepinephrine or their dopamine. They might have a biological system that works through those hormones quicker than somebody else, or that might not generate enough. And then they might be, chemically deficient. Could also be vitamin deficient. Could be malnourishment. We're seeing a lot of depression now because marijuana use is so ubiquitous. And marijuana is known to cause depression, anxiety in many individuals. So, we don't want to go to medication when there's a simpler answer. I had a mom call me saying my daughter is always tired. She is just dragging every day. And I go, what medicines is she on? And she's on hydroxyzine, which is a medicine for anxiety. And I go, is she usually tired the days after she takes the hydroxyzine? And the mom said, oh, she's on it every day. She takes it every day for anxiety, multiple times a day. And so even though she might have anemia for her fatigue, low thyroid, vitamin deficiency, sleep apnea, mono, if she's taking a medicine that's making her tired, we might not necessarily have to, have a multi-$1,000 treatment regimen for her, but change out the medication that's making her fatigued. So I don't have an answer. I think there are a lot of individuals with depression and anxiety. I think, unfortunately, people who didn't medicate took their depression and anxiety out in very different ways, like beating their kids, gambling, alcohol use, drug use. Anxiety and depression has existed for centuries. That's not anything new. But it's not just about the medicine. We want to do the therapy. We want to do the interventions. We want to do the lifestyle changes, and make sure we're not medicating too soon. But we also want to make sure we're not intervening when we need to medically. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.